Good morning, everyone, and appreciate you tuning in, whether you're going to be live watching today. I'm going to be on here from about 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., almost said 9 p.m. That'd be kind of a long deal. 8 to 9 a.m. on this Saturday morning, and that's Central Time. So Eastern Time would be 9 to 10. But wanted to take lawn care questions. The weather is warming up. I'm in Alabama. We've been up close to actually 70 degrees yesterday. So the weeds that are in the yard are going crazy, and potential new customers are starting to call, seeing more lawn care trucks out. I know those up further north still wrestling with snow and things like that. But anyway, it's getting close. We're in February. Of course, when March hits, a lot of things will start opening up, at least for us here in the South. And anyway, a lot of preparation going on. I did have a topic to discuss today, but also taking your questions. So at any point you want to leave a question, post a question, you can. If it's a specific lawn care question, like about a certain kind of grass or weed, if you can tell me where you live and what kind of grass you have, that's sometimes helpful. But we're going to take questions. Like I said, I've got a topic I want to discuss, get some feedback from you guys. Derek says, leaving the Army after 10 years and making $90,000 a year. I'm planning on starting a landscaping business in Jacksonville, Florida. He's kind of nervous leaving the amount of money to start a business, but it's a goal. I tell you what, I think that Derek goes right along with with the topic I wanted to discuss. So I may jump in on that. Chris says hello. Let me and keep posting your questions if you're watching, because I'll get to those too. But let's talk about this. I got a comment on a video recently that kind of got me thinking, and it's not a new topic for me. It's something I've thought about a lot before, but it's this idea of benefits. And should you, if you have a lawn care business, you don't have what we call traditional benefits in a sense of health insurance, paid time off, matching 401k. So Derek here, I'm being in the Army, I'm sure had a lot more benefits than being in the lawn care business as far as those traditional benefits, health care and things like that. And probably, Derek, you're a little bit of advantage because you'll have I'm assuming you could always, you're going to have some of those benefits continue with you even after you get out of the Army. So you could still have access to, VA healthcare and things like that. I'm assuming so. I don't know your situation. So anyway, as I got to thinking about it, because the comment that I received from somebody was like, if you're running a solo operation, which is what I do, you either need that's no good, basically, is what he was saying. That you need to either grow a big substantial business or go look for a job that's got benefits. Well, I didn't agree with him, to be honest with you. I just told him he was entitled to his opinion, and of course he is. But I get his point. I think you're right. Like, so I got to thinking about it. What kind of benefits is there for being in the lawn care business? And, should we, if you're just making a decent living being in lawn care, let's say you're out there mowing lawns and you make $60,000 a year profit, should you quit that and go get a $60,000 job that pays, has a retirement plan and pays a portion of your health insurance and stuff like that? Well, everybody's got their own situation. Everybody's, whether you have another way to get insurance or, anyway, there's a lot of factors. It's not just like one size fits all for you. But I'll tell you, for me, as I've been thinking about this, the benefits of being self-employed, to me, there's two primary, and I put this lawn care in this as well. One is you do have some control over your income to some degree, at least. You don't have to go ask a boss, can I have a raise? You can work more and harder and try to get more customers and grow the business. Now, if you're solo, of course, it can be capped, but like I said, you can actually do pretty well solo. But if you want to be solo and you want to grow past solo, it's fine. I would kind of agree with him if he said you're just solo and you're just making a little bit of money. Why would you not just go get a job? Well, one, I don't plan to make just a little bit of money solo. I plan to make more than most jobs would pay me. And also, I want to, I think the other thing is the personal freedom. If I want to come home at 2 o'clock every day and take a nap, I can come home at 2 o'clock every day and take a nap. I don't do that, but I'm not required. The personal freedom of being self-employed, yeah, there's responsibilities for it. I got to get the work done. I'm sort of on call just about all the time. But if I want to be off at a certain time, I'm off at a certain time. I want to take next week off, I can take next week off. Okay. I want to take the week after that off, I take that one off too. I want to start work at 5 in the morning, I can start at 5 in the morning. I mean, there's some freedom, and to me, that's worth a lot of money. So if somebody said, "Hey, Jason, let's just give 2 examples. If I could make $100,000 being self-employed, well, let's say the negatives that are self-employment tax, okay, you're taxed differently. You do have a little bit of a weight of carrying the business. So if you're a lawn care professional, let's say you're solo, there's some risk there. If I get hurt, that is not good and could be detrimental to my business, but you can have some sort of supplemental insurance to help in those situations or have a backup plan. You are, like I said, you're kind of on call. Somebody calls me on Saturday morning, I can't just go shut my business. It's not like leaving work where I left work, I'm not thinking about it till Monday. My business stays on my mind a lot. Okay, so there's some negatives, but on the positive side, again, the freedom and the ability to earn more money and to control my schedule is worth a lot of money. So for me, if I can make $100,000 being a solo lawn care operator versus $100,000 working at a traditional 8 to 5 jobs that paid for my health insurance and had a matching 401k and 2 weeks paid vacation or 3 weeks or whatever, there's no question in my mind, I'm going the lawn care operator. Now that's just me. I mean, that's my fit for me. I've had traditional jobs. Okay. And the idea that something about the purpose, like there is purpose when I wake up. Okay. I have a business to operate, to try to grow. I can go out there and I can take care of somebody's lawn, and I'm not looking at my watch wondering when break time is or lunch time or snack time or when can I get off or what time I got. I have yards to do and I'm working toward a goal. I've had jobs where you sit there and there's virtually nothing to do and you're literally just watching the clock. You're just like, is it break time? Is it lunchtime? When can I go home? And the lack of purpose that gives to a person, I think it takes away some of their dignity. I mean, I really do. I feel pretty strongly about this. So to have a real job that, and again, not all 8 to 5 jobs are like that. You can have an 8 to 5 job that has real purpose. But I had some that had virtually no purpose. Just collect a check and do your time. But anyway, so the point is, it would take significantly more money to get me to go work for somebody else, unless it was just a perfect opportunity. Because I like the freedom, I like the challenge, and I like waking up knowing I got something to do today. And somebody will have to offer more than 2 weeks paid vacation, a 401k, and a health insurance plan for that. Okay, and a lot of places don't even pay you health insurance anymore; they might pay a portion of it. I use one of these Christian health share programs. It's $600 a month. It's called Samaritan Ministries. Works like health insurance. MediShare is another one that's popular. Much cheaper than traditional healthcare, and that's for my entire family. I got 4 kids, so that's one option you can do, is do something like that. But on the retirement end, I mean, my goal, and I wish I'd have started earlier, just to be honest with you, but my goal is to try to make more income than I need every year and to aggressively save and invest. Okay. That's basically what you're doing with a 401k plan. Now, sometimes the company will match part of it, but it kind of helps you be disciplined to save and invest. Well, you can do it on your own. You can save and invest on your own, and you can be very aggressive in doing so. But like I said, the whole self-employment thing just takes a little bit more self-discipline. You got to get yourself out. Nobody's going to tell you have to start at 8 o'clock on Monday morning. You got to get up and get there and get started and move and do something. Okay, but you also got to think about the future and save, and you got to think about insurance and save. You got to have a backup plan and plan for that if something happened to you, whatever. I mean, so anyway, I guess I feel pretty strongly about that because I know I've had about 15 jobs before I started lawn care. They were all pretty much bad. Some of them terrible, some of them worse than terrible. And like I said, it's just not for me. I want to go out there and have control and freedom to get out there and make something happen and not have capped income and ask, can I have Saturday off because I got to go to a funeral and ask, I want to be out there making more. If I can get more done in 25 hours than somebody else who sits there and plays solitaire in 40 hours, then let me do it. Okay. And so that's me. I'm a little bit wired that way, but I don't know. Did that address Derek's thing there? So Derek, it's going to be different, for you. Maybe you still got military insurance. I'm not sure if you leave. The lawn care business can be tough. You got to keep your prices high. You can go out there and work yourself to death mowing $50 yards and not make that much money. But if you get started in it and you even can get into stuff where you got higher margins, like you become a landscaper and stuff like that. Mowing grass is good and can make you a living. But there's other things like I went from mowing grass to weed control and fertilization and make more money. And you can do that. You can get in landscaping and find something that's going to pay you what you are worth. But it is a journey. Chris says, good morning. What is the best electric lawn equipment would you use? When you say electric, I'm assuming you're not talking about dragging a extension cord around the yard, but battery powered electric type stuff. I just got a Milwaukee. Actually, the video I did on it's coming out at 9 o'clock this morning, I believe, maybe 8. I don't know, or 8:30. I can't remember. Anyway, Milwaukee Tools sent me their new battery powered mower, and I've been trying it out, and it's pretty cool. Now, the thing about the electric mowers, your runtime is an issue. The batteries are expensive. Like they're selling this Milwaukee one, it's great, okay, but it's got 2 batteries. It costs like $500 or $250 a piece, and you get about an hour runtime out of them. So, you're going to carry a bunch of backup batteries with you, or maybe you only have a little bit of time to use it. But anyway, it's great, and I know Toro's got a battery powered line now. The blowers and that's on the mowers. They're using a lot more power. The handheld equipment to me is more, it's come a long way and I guess doesn't use much power. So I've got a Milwaukee handheld blower that is pretty good, to be honest with you. I had several other handheld blowers that were battery powered. I didn't really like. The Milwaukee one's been great for me, but I don't have a lot of experience with anyway, the Milwaukee stuff is good. I've got Milwaukee hedge trimmers, pole saw, stuff like that. It's also very good, but I haven't tried a lot of the other brands, so to be able to give you a good opinion on that. Good flow rate and PSI for spraying. Well, I'm not sure what my PSI is. I know, so I'm out there. I was helping somebody recently and we were trying to calibrate his machine. I've got a calibration video on YouTube. If you search Lawn Care Life calibration, it should come up. But we kind of walk you through the process and bucket checks and all that stuff. But just a simple thing you can do to get close is, we measured off, I was helping somebody today, we measured off 5,000 square foot in this yard. So it was 50 feet this way by 100 feet this way, 5,000 square feet. And we just sprayed it like a lawn and seeing how many gallons of water did he use in his tank, because he had little markers where you could see how many gallons. And so for me, when I do that, I spray 5,000 square feet, I'm using 10 gallons. I'm spraying 2 gallons per 1,000 square feet. And then I can, calculate all my chemicals based off of that. I really don't know what my PSI is and stuff like that. Josh says, good morning. Morning. Chris says he's running a similar Bermuda plan to yours in North and South Carolina. Chris, I'm mixing mine up a little bit. I'm still doing 7 treatments, but this year I was spraying prodiamine like pre and post emergent round 1, pre and post emergent round 2, then quick release fertilizer, then slow release fertilizer. That was my first 4 rounds. This year I'm going spraying prodiamine round 1, pre and post emergent, with triplet or 3-way herbicide and atrazine. Then I'm kind of pushing my round 2 back to March 1st, and I'm doing a slow release fertilizer because round 3, late April through early June, let's say, I'm wanting to do spectacle flow at 6 ounces. So because I was wanting to do the spectacle then, that's what I was told was the best time to do it for doveweed, chamber bitter, all this stuff. Then and kalingas and things like that. So anyway, because I'm wanting to do that, I put fertilizer around 2. It's really too early to fertilize, but it's a slow release, so it's just going to sit there until the weather warms up. Then come back with spectacle, then come back with more slow release round 4. So I used to be spray, fertilizer, fertilizer. Now I'm spray, fertilizer, mixing up a little bit. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Do you think that on a thick Zoysia japonica that a 22-inch Toro mower will sort of float on the grass and not cut? You know what? I'm thinking the japonica. I'm not sure. Help me on that, Thomas. Is that like the emerald Zoysias and stuff, like the real fine blade ones, or is that more of a wide blade one like a Meyer Zoysia or a Z52 or so? But anyway, I'm thinking you're talking about more of the real thin fine blade. I've got Zorro Zoysia, which is in that category, I would think. Emerald Zoysia. I've seen them where it's basically doing what you're telling me. I had an Emerald Zoysia lawn. That's why I was mowing grass, tiny little yard. But it was so thick, you just about couldn't get the mower to cut it. I mean, it would cut it, but it was like it was sitting so high. I mean, I was probably putting the mower on like 5 or 6 inches. Now, because anyway, I know what you're talking about, and I do think there's some truth to what you're saying. Somebody else might want to chime in on that as well. Chris says, I'm outside every day in lawn care business and love it. Never sit in a cubicle. Yeah, I did the cubicle thing, and that was not for me. I'm telling you, they have to. It's just you had to pay somebody a lot more for me, and that's his personality. You had to pay me a lot more money to get me to go back and do that. Aloha from Hawaii. I'm curious if does lawn care businesses pulling around trucks and trailers in Hawaii mowing grass, and what kind of grass do you have in Hawaii? I'd be interested to know. All right, when we address the electric lawn care, Jason, do you have any input on pre-emergent application and root pruning? Is there a better product or a better way to apply the diminishing root pruning? You know, I get asked about this sometimes, and I personally, let's say I had a conversation yesterday about it. I've had other conversations about it. So I'm using spectacle flow even on my Centipede and St. Augustine yards, but I'm using it at a lower rate in the fall. So Bermuda Zoysias, I'm using 6.5 ounces per application in the fall of spectacle flow. On the Centipede and St. Augustine, I'm using 4 ounces. I can't remember if it's 4.5. I had to go back and check. I have not seen any negative effect, and I've greatly seen an improvement in the weed control versus when I was using prodiamine in the fall. This year, now, and the conversation I had yesterday, like I'm putting a little bit of prodiamine on my Centipede and St. Augustine yards, which in our area, if we get a cold winter, they can get beat up a little bit and need some time to recover. I put a low rate out on round 1, like in January. I haven't seen any negative effect on those. That being said, if you have a Centipede yard that's, I'm just using that grass type, for example, or I guess any grass type, but if you have a yard that is very thin and needs a lot of recovery, then you might have to weigh, is it worth the pre-emergent? But my thought is, like I said, if I put it out in January, when the grass really starts to grow, like June, let's say, I think the pre-emerge is not having a whole lot of effect then. So yeah, maybe it's wouldn't allow a lot of recovery in March, but is the grass really growing much in March? Yeah. Anyways, I personally haven't seen any negative effects. Now, I mean, I think it is an issue. I don't think it's something somebody made up. So I don't think you just need to go out there and spray spectacle 5 times a year. And depending on what kind of lawn you have, may also have some input on that. But I've heard with spectacle there can be concern with root pruning, but I hadn't personally seen it. Where would be the best place to buy Bermuda plugs? The best time to put in the ground? Okay, all right. I got some experience with this, Ronnie. I tried a couple of things. I'll tell you what not to do. What not to do. I bought somebody told me like, hey, you might could get like what was it? Oh, it's one of those machines you crank up and you put little brush ends, like a brush shredder thing. Like you get little sticks and leaves out of your yard and you put it in there and it just shreds it to pieces. Well, I thought, hey, I don't know if somebody told me this or if I came up with it on my own, but it was a bad idea. I thought, why don't I'll get a little bit of sod. I'll throw it through the shredder and it'll shred it up into pieces. And there you go. I've got my Bermuda plugs. Well, it didn't work. Okay. It probably would work if you had a big, really nice shredder. I had a $500 one off Amazon, and which worked fine for sticks and leaves, but not so good with sod. So that's a bad idea. Don't do that. I also tried this. After that failed, I had a sod farm near me that advertised that they sell the plugs. They have a machine that shreds it all up for you. Okay, so you buy the sod for, let's say, $110 a pallet. They charge you $50 extra to run it through their machine that shreds it all to pieces, and then they load it on the back of your truck or trailer with a tractor. Well, that actually was good. I mean, that was worth the money, the extra money. I got like 5 pallets of it like that. Problem is, by the time I was ready to put it out, it was like August, I believe, and it was a terrible year for rain. We had almost no rain. So I threw it out there, basically laying on top of bare dirt. A lot of it died because I couldn't get it in the soil. So in that situation, you need irrigation if you're going to do it in the middle of summer. Or what I ended up having to do to try to get some of it to light out there with a water hose, spraying it and stepping on it. If I could get it down in the dirt, it's going to basically survive. And once even a little bit of it survived, I basically covered 4 acres at my house with mostly Bermuda, maybe 3 acres of total grass. And it looks great. And I did that off of just a little bit of Bermuda sod. The other thing I tried was on another area of my yard, I just went and bought 2 pallets of sod. And I didn't shred it or do anything. This was covering like 2 acres. I just threw the whole piece out there. And after it took root, same situation. It was in the summer, terrible time to do it. Didn't have irrigation. Had to just water it by hand best I could. Some of it died. It was very dry. And anyway, some of it lived. And then the next year, I ended up taking a box blade on a tractor and kind of dragging it around so it smoothed out where it wasn't really sticking up. Now it spread and it took off and covered almost the whole 2 acres. So all these things work, but they're all terrible. So other thing you can do, I've tried this too. There's a tool on Amazon. It's called a Pro Plugger. It's a green thing. You step on it, and I've got videos on that. But I've been plugging. So the good thing about it is you step on it, and it cuts plugs out of your lawn. You can get about 10 plugs in it, and then you go step on those plugs and put them back in the ground. Well, it has the dirt. You're getting the root and all. So the chances of that surviving is way better than just throwing some cut up pieces like I did from the sod farm on top of the dirt with not mixed into the ground at all. It's just drying out super fast. When it's August in Alabama, it's a bad time to do it. Unless you got irrigation, it could work great. I just didn't have any irrigation. So if it's a small area, the Pro Plugger is good because you can just steal some sod from one area of your yard and put it in another area of your yard. I'm planning to do that again at my house. I've got one area we just graded out. I'm just going to start plugging from areas of my yard. I've got Bermuda grass everywhere. Just take some plugs and get it started and fertilize it and let it spread. So anyway, those are some options. But as far as the timing, I'm planning to do that real soon, like now, because it'll take root even if it's not really growing, go ahead and get it rooted. And then when it starts growing like crazy, May, June, July, August, it's already rooted. If you do it in June, I mean, it's fine. You got to water like crazy. But I'm like, why not just go ahead and do it now? Let it root. That way it can just start spreading. Sooner the better. So anyway. All right. Derek says, residential properties, you have a set time when you start in the morning. I know some homes don't like when it's too early. Yeah, I mean, I'm like 8:30-ish. You know, that's one good thing about having some commercial properties. You can go knock out those commercial properties early in the morning and then go to your residential property. So that's helpful. Yeah, Derek said he will have insurance. He's getting out of the Army. So that's a huge benefit, honestly, Derek. So I'm happy for you on that. The Echo PB9010T. Is that an electric something? Is that an electric blower or trimmer or something? We had somebody ask about electric stuff. So maybe Shane's answering that. Shane, what is that? All right. I'm 54, Josh says, and working all kinds of jobs with a boss. In 2 weeks, I'm going on my own. I can't hardly wait to get out. Yeah, it is a little intimidating, Josh, but I'm telling you, if you can make it, I've got a couple videos that I did. This couple that's local. He's in his 40s probably, and he started last year, and he did well. Husband and wife team, they got out there and had a good year, and going back this year to do more. And so it can be scary leaving a job for a long time, but it's also very rewarding. I think sometimes, and you know, it's something else I want to mention. Got me started on something else. Well, anyway, sometimes fire trucks running by. I think sometimes people want to stay in a job and kind of do it part-time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, do what you want to do. Sometimes the idea of like leaving a job and having no customers puts you in a little bit of a desperate situation. I was thinking about this example the other day. When I watch, I like to watch sports. And if you watch a football game, let's say, and one team jumps out to a 2-touchdown lead, why is it that it seems like oftentimes, unless it's just not a fair matchup at all, the other team comes back? You know, in basketball, they jump out the 20-point lead, but then all of a sudden it ends up being a close game, and then the better team pulls away and wins anyway. Well, I think there's something to the psychology of that when they have a comfortable lead, they sort of slack up, and the team that's losing is in a desperate situation, so they trying like crazy to catch up, and then eventually the better team ends up winning. And I think that happens in lawn care. Like for me, when I moved to where I live now 7 years ago, I'd start my lawn business over because we moved 2 hours away. I had 3 kids, a 4th one coming, and I had no customers, 0. You know, I was doing YouTube. I had sold a previous lawn business. I wasn't just totally in a desperate situation, but let's be honest, I didn't have a whole lot of money in the bank, and we bought a cheapest 4-bedroom house we could find just about in our area, and I had to start and get going. But because I was in a somewhat desperate situation, I think it helped motivate me. Now, I wish I could say that if I would have had $1 million in the bank, I'd have still been as motivated. I probably would not have been. But so there's something too, I think, if you're out there on your own, I'm not telling you quit your job and just go out there flying after it. But if you find yourself in that situation, let that desperate situation motivate you. So what I was mowing grass, I was doing weed control, I was actually working weekends at my family has a wedding venue. I was washing dishes there, doing what you had to do to make it. And then as I got more established, of course, I quit doing those. I was working 1 day a week with a friend of mine who mows grass. He'd pay me, $15 an hour or something like that. So, but once I got established, I quit doing those things and tried to grow my weed control and fertilization business. But it was sort of that motivation that got me going. Anyway. Oh, here we go. Suggestion on preventing keeping out neighbors' bent grass out of my cool season lawn. Shane, I deal mostly with warm season grasses, so I wouldn't know product. Like we have the same situation. I'll just tell you though. Like I have a neighbor has centipede grass, and then I've got Bermuda. The centipede will creep in, and I'm looking for that herbicide that'll knock out the centipede without hurting the Bermuda, or at least knock it back, or so you're in the same situation. I just don't know the particular product, but somebody might could chime in here and help. Bowman's Homestead says, "Hey y'all, what's up? Thanks for chiming in." And neighbors POA spreading my cool season grass. Again, we talked about this the other day. I was talking with some people that deal with cool season grass, and he was like, "I don't know what to do with POA and cool season grass, because I can give you about 7 products that would kill POA in a warm season line. Revolver, Negate, Celsius, Centipede. We even use glyphosate on dormant Bermuda. There's a bunch of things. Tribute Total, Katana. They all have some extent, some effectiveness with POA. But on a cool season lawn, I'll say this: the advantage is POA sticks out like a sore thumb on a dormant Bermuda lawn. But if on a cool season lawn, it's not as bad. I'm sorry about the sunlight here. I put up a makeshift curtain. It's doing what we can here. So my shoulder looks like it's glowing. It's just sunlight coming through the window. I'm usually on here at night, so it's not an issue. All right, let's see. Green Industry Podcast with Paul Jameson. This is my friend Paul. Y'all can check him out. I do listen to Paul's podcast, Green Industry Podcast. Paul's a friend of mine over in the Atlanta area. And got to see him recently, had a good time. Now, how hard is it and how much does it cost to get into doing what you do? What education do you need? Well, I mean, I do weed control and fertilization, so I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, or mowing grass. If you want to mow grass, I wouldn't think it's hard at all. You go get a lawnmower. I mean, I've had mowing businesses, 3 different businesses where I mowed lawns, including my current one, but I'm no longer mowing for people. But you go get a lawnmower and you start practicing. There's not a whole lot more into it. The weed control, I mean, getting licensed is different from state to state. In Alabama, we take a test. You pass the test, you get your license and pay them some money. And then you have continuing education classes. I'm going to one next week where I have to keep up these points to recertify my license and things like that. In other states, it's more difficult. I know in Florida and Mississippi around here in the South, it is significantly more difficult. Sometimes you have to have college education in the field or work for somebody for so many years, like 3 years in the field. So anyway, there's some differences in different states. You need to look into your state's Department of Agriculture to find that out, probably. All right, what we got here? When trying to identify, here we go. Sorry. Can one be successful in a rural area? It's going to be more challenging. I mean, probably looking at larger lawns, may need to get a 60-inch mower. I mean, you got to just see, is there a demand, how rural you're talking about. I've got some rural areas around me, and I just don't think there's a demand for it. People that they sure ain't spraying their yards, and for mowing, I don't, got 4 goats out there eating it. So I mean, you got to give yourself an honest evaluation. Is there a demand for the service? And if there is, get the equipment for that particular type of lawn. So if you're mowing 1 and 2 acre yards, don't get a 48-inch zero turn. Get a 60-inch zero turn, the fastest, biggest one you can, and charge accordingly. It's just, you got to think about the time involved in that. It's hard. It's a little bit harder to find somebody that's going to pay you, $150 per cut versus getting a tiny yard that's going to pay you $50 per cut. So, I mean, it's just more challenging, but you got to really evaluate your market. When trying to identify Bermuda lawn versus Zoysia, what are some key things to look for? I always struggle with this. I wish I knew a great answer to that. I mean, I just look at them and it's obvious to me because I guess I look at them all the time. But like right now, when they're dormant, the Bermuda is very thin. I mean, you can just basically see the dirt in between it. It's just thin. It's just kind of scraggly looking, where the Zoysia is definitely a cleaner. It's much thicker, especially if you get like a Zorro Zoysia or the Emerald Zoysia. It's super thick. So you're not going to be able to just peel it back and look straight down the dirt. Where, like I said, Bermuda, I think it's one reason Zoysia is so much better at choking out weeds than Bermuda is. It just grows so thick, there's not much room for the weeds to grow. So much thicker. I mean, there's different kind of Zoysias, so it's a little bit tricky. In the summertime, I don't know. I'm trying to think what to tell you as far as how to they to me, they're not that close. But the Zoysia is definitely a thicker grass, just grows much thicker. The Bermuda, somebody might chime in on that. I feel like I'm just rambling on something. But if you look at the leaf side by side, to me, they're not that particularly close. I sometimes, when it's dormant, can get centipede confused with like a Myers Zoysia or Z52 Zoysia. Their leaf blade is about the same size, and that can be confusing. Anyway, all right, what we got here? Thomas, when I first started with my Zoysia lawn, I had a Honda, and yes, I tended to float. Zoysia really sticks up and gets thick. We were talking earlier, can the emerald Zoysia get so thick that you can't even mow it? And sometimes it does. It's like the mower's just riding on top of it. Is your laundry room always that clean? Paul, this is our best room of our whole house, probably, just about, is our laundry room. You might not can see the clutter, but yeah, we try to keep this room. This is the best room for me to get in here. So yeah, we keep it decently clean. Our house is new and ain't had that much time to get dirty. Any idea of a good weed killer that can be used near water? My area, we have stay away 20 feet. From my understanding, December is starting to crack down on this in my area. DEC. Anyway, somebody's starting to crack down on it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you just have to read the label. I don't have any off the top of my head. I'm sorry. All right, we're talking again about the Zoysia being so tall and thick, but having a heavy mower is not that great either. You end up pillowy center section and ruts where your tires turn. Yeah, I think maybe the idea on this Zoysia, somebody chime in here. If the Zoysia is so thick that your mower floats on top, what I would probably do is in this time of year when it's dormant, I try to scalp it and get it back down to a manageable level and then cut it frequent enough to keep it there. Because if you let it get up 4 or 5 inches where your mower literally just sitting on top of it, it does become a challenge. I try scalping it. Good morning, grass guys. We're almost getting back to mow season. This is the doghouse lawn care. Yes, we are, depending on where you live. But yeah, we're getting pretty close. I was out. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't know. I get so tired of the hot weather. I'm ready for fall. But now I'm wanting I've got some areas graded out in my backyard. I'm wanting the grass to fill in. I feel like my yard after 3 years, this will be, I guess, the 4th year. It looks better than it has, way better than it used to. I think this is the year it's going to just really be great. So anyway, any good idea use near water? Sorry, I wasn't able to help on that one. Somebody's giving us $5. This is great. Thank you, Ben. Thanks for watching the channel and supporting. And I'm hoping as we get into springtime, I'm wanting to be more consistent with the live streams. The audience is just not as good in the winter time. Not offending you guys. I'm saying there's not as many people that watch, or they just don't care about their yard in the winter. So, but as we get into March and April, a lot of people, I think, will have triple the amount of viewers, to be honest with you. So I'll probably be a little more consistent on here. I was doing on Monday nights. My kids are doing gymnastics and soccer and basketball, so. But I'm going to find a time and try to be consistent with it weekly or bi-weekly. We'll see what happens. All right. Oswaldo Jimenez says, I have Bermuda and St. Augustine grass in my area. What do you recommend on pre-emergent, liquid or granular? Thank you. I use liquid, but I've got a spray tank that I can do it with. Liquid, the advantage of the liquid is it's cheaper typically, and I can mix the post-emergence in there with it. So I put prodiamine in there, and then I've got atrazine and not on my Bermudas, I got atrazine and triplet and prodiamine. On the St. Augustine, I've just got the atrazine, no triplet. So but I can mix it all together in the tank. If you do granular, you're just putting out the granular pre-emergent, and then if there's any weeds, you got to go back and spot treat those with something else. So it's an extra step, plus it's more expensive, but it can work, especially if you don't have any weeds and you don't have a tank sprayer, or all you got is a backpack sprayer. You might be faster just using a push spreader and do it that way. All right. Jeff says, I went to plant sale for a local museum. Someone was selling a type of Dallas grass as an ornamental. Oh man, is that possible that somebody's considering that ornamental? You know what? Sometimes I go to nurseries and I see stuff they're selling, and it does. I like that. If that was in my yard, I'd consider it a weed. I'd try to kill it. But if somebody's passing off Dallas grass, it's the one of the most unsightly weeds. I don't think anyway. That's crazy though. They may have a variety of it. It looks a little bit better, and I kind of like the grasses like in my landscape, and I like the not the pampas grass, it's the gigantic one we have. I like those. You got to have room for those. But some of those other small grassy types, I like them personally. Okay, here we go. Thank you for this. Mike saying tenacity kills bent grass. Yeah, tenacity is a very commonly used herbicide for cool season grasses. We don't use it on our warm season grasses, but somebody was asking how to get bent grass out of some other kind of cool season lawn. I forget. So Mike's saying tenacity. I really appreciate that. All right, Premier Lawns. Hey, Jason, tuning in from Belfast, Northern Ireland. Thanks a lot, man. I guess over there it's late afternoon or something. So I appreciate you. What kind of grass you got in Northern Ireland? I would think, is it cold there? But when you're dealing with cool season grasses like ryegrass and fescue and things, or we got two people saying tenacity kills bent grass. So this is great. And this is also great. The money's rolling in here. Thank you, Ethan. I'm battling broom sedge in my yard, new construction lawn. Okay. Broom sedge, I tell people from a business standpoint, if you see a yard's got a lot of broom sedge, just avoid it. It's one of the, if I find a yard, they want to quote, and they've got a lot of broom sedge or a lot of Dallas grass, I don't want to mess with it. It doesn't mean they're impossible to get rid of. And a lot of times, new construction, broom sedge likes acidic soil. So, I mean, it's probably a sign that your lawn needs lime, and you can throw a bunch of lime on there. I don't think the lime's necessarily going to kill the broom sedge, but it's probably a sign that your lawn needs lime anyway. So I would put lime on it. As far as the broom sedge go, a couple things. While it's dormant, if let's say I don't know if you're talking about Bermuda or not, but if you tell me what kind of grass, that might be helpful. But if it was a dormant Bermuda lawn, I probably would spray the broom sedge on a warm day. If it had a little bit of color to it, I would probably spray it with glyphosate. I might even do that as it began warming up and greening up a little bit, even if it caused a little bit of damage to my lawn. Now, that's one way to do it. If it's just a little bit, it is actually pretty easy to pull up. The other herbicide that I've heard had some success is blindside. Like multiple apps of blindside can have some success. So if it's in your own lawn and you want to get some blindside and do it, but that I don't know about right now. You might have to wait till it warms up a little bit. POA Constrictor works on POA and cool season lawns. Applies a pre-emergent in the fall. Oh, works on POA. Okay, that's good to know, Chris, because we didn't know the answer to that. So there's a product called POA Constrictor that'll pre-emergent. So I guess you would have to time that though. If you're going to aerate and overseed your lawn in the fall, you're going to want to get my understanding, you'd want to get that seed rooted and growing before you did this. So that's the tricky part. If you're trying to control POA with a pre-emergent, but then you're aerated and overseeded, it's going to really hinder your seed germinating. So that's the problem, having to work that in. But thank you for that, because I did not know the name of a product that would control POA and cool season lawn. Moved in a new place. Yard was 100% crabgrass. Overseeded with rye for the winter. But what should I do this coming spring? Doghouse, again, if you can tell me where you live, dog was spelled like the Georgia Bulldogs, maybe. So I'm assuming you're in Georgia, but I don't know. Well, I'd say this: I've got some customers' yards that were just about 100% crabgrass, but actually, if you look close enough, there'd be a little bit of Bermuda. So, I mean, if you have just a little bit of Bermuda, it'll spread. If you don't have a little bit of Bermuda, you might want to go buy a little bit of Bermuda, and you could go ahead and plug it now. Like I talked about this earlier, you can get that Pro Plugger and just start putting plugs in your yard every 10 feet if you want. I mean, you can do it. The closer you do it, the faster it's going to fill in. Or go buy some sod. I mean, of course, you can sod the yard solid if you want to, but like I said, you can just start plugging it. I would put a pre-emergent out. personally, and I didn't mention this earlier, but if you don't put a pre-emergent in your 100% crabgrass, you're going to be killed again with crabgrass again this year. And what happens is the crabgrass is so thick, there's no room for the Bermuda to spread. So I go ahead and do the crabgrass and forget whatever about root pruning or hindering. To me, I would do the pre-emergent. And even if it delays when your Bermuda can start to spread, you got to get rid of the crabgrass or your Bermuda is not going to be able to spread anyway. So I would do a pre-emergent now as soon as possible, especially if you're in the South. As we get warmer weather, do that, which will help with the crabgrass. Then plug it, start plugging sod or throwing sod out, whatever you got to do. And then when it starts getting warm, fertilize it and let it spread. When establishing new lawn from seed, should you do all you can to establish the turf and just worry about the weeds down the road? I don't have a lot of experience doing new lawns for seed, but I would say in general, the answer to that is yes. If you've got, whether it was seed or sod, if you start bombarding it with herbicides early on, you're probably doing a lot of damage to the turf. So yeah, a healthy turf is one of the best things you can do for weeds. So I would go for turf health as much as possible. Maybe do a little bit of spot treating if you need to, and then worry about the weeds later. Same, like I said, same with sodding. Let's get your sod rooted and growing, and we'll take care of the weeds later. To be successful in rural areas, it's extra important to make sure your prices are right and there is less profit margin. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough if you got to drive, 20 minutes between stops. I like going to a neighborhood and having 20 yards in the same neighborhood. That's not usually realistic in a rural area. So you're mowing a $125 yard, driving 20 minutes, mowing a $150 yard, driving, which can work. It's more drive time. The bigger properties, you got to price it. Like I said, you got to price it right. You can't be out there for 2.5 hours and charge $75. I just don't think you can make it hardly like that. So what tools do you measure square footage? I use Yardbook, and it has a built-in lot measurement tool. If you go on the dashboard on there, there's a lot measurement tool, and it's basically a Google Earth image, and you trace it out. Now, for me doing weed control and fertilization, I like to do that. If I got their address, I like to measure it out on Yardbook, and boom, there's my square footage. Sometimes it'll have big trees and you can't get a good measurement. Sometimes I still want to go look at the yard because I want to see what weeds are in the yard. I want to talk to the customer face to face. And I want to sell myself in person, not necessarily. I mean, if they're 30 minutes away, I might try to sell them over the phone. If I'm really familiar with the neighborhood, it's a neighborhood of 500 yards that all look the same. Okay, I know what those yards look like. I don't necessarily have to go out there, but I like to get the measurement that way. But then I like to go look at the yard in person, and if I need to, measure it again. Or if there's a big tree, I can see, is there any grass on that tree or not? Measure that with a measuring wheel, and then move on. Give them prep. I'm trying to talk to them face to face, or at least on the phone, because I want to sell myself as their lawn care professional. When's the best time to aerate? I said in the cool season grasses, they do it in the fall, usually when aerate and overseed in the fall. For here in the South, most of the time people are doing it in the spring. I wouldn't do it like now, but the grass is not really growing, so you're not mowing much, so you're gonna have, at least in our area, so you're just gonna have all those plugs of dirt laying all over your yard. And I did my best to block out the sun. I apologize. Anyway, you gotta have those plugs laying all over your yard, and that's kind of a pain to look at and to deal with. So I would wait and do it like April or so, when the grass is at least starting to grow. You're running mowers over, so you don't just have plugs laying everywhere. But I don't. Essentially, I don't think there's a terrible time to do it. So it doesn't look terrible. When do you think you'll hit 100,000 subs? I think I'm on a slow journey on YouTube. Those who don't watch it, I've been doing YouTube for about 11 years. I think I'm one of the first, lawn care people on here, and the growth has been steady and sometimes a little bit slow. But anyway, I think I will eventually get to 100,000. I'm at like 93 or so. I can't remember. So it usually picks up starting in March and April and May are big months. So I think it's going to be May or June, if I had to guess, unless something good or bad happens. But my goal was last year to get there. It just didn't happen. All right. How many square feet on average should a technician be treating in a day if the service area is within a 2-mile square radius, in your opinion? Depends on the size of the yards, but I mean, if you got a real tight route, and like if I'm out there doing 5,000 and 6,000 square foot yards, if I really pushed it, I could get 25 to 30 yards if on a super tight route. I mean, I could probably get more than that, to be honest with you, but 25 is a good day for me, and that's small yards that are pretty tight, but 2 square miles, that's really tight. All right. 2-week reseed interval on boa constrictor. Okay. Well, that's good to know. So he's saying I'm assuming I'm trying to put all this together. So let's say we're trying to control POA in a cool season yard, and appreciate you guys chiming in on this because it's not my specialty here. But we're going to put the POA constrictor out, wait 2 weeks, and then seed it because after 2 weeks, so you're trying to get the POA constrictor out before the POA germinates. So that's what I was thinking. If you put the seed out and wait till it gets established, you may have already waited too late to get ahead of the POA with your pre-emergent. So I'm thinking you put the POA constrictor out, let's say, what would this be in August, maybe late, depending on where you live, but August or early September. And then hopefully if you get it out before, again, wherever you live, but get it out before the POA starts germinating, before you start getting those cool nights in the fall. We'll give it 2 weeks and then overseed, with the ryegrass or fescue or whatever you're putting out. Appreciate that information. POA constrictor is discontinued, but it is ethofumosate is what we're going to say. All right. So maybe it's under a different product name. The label says apply a few weeks after overseed, and then again a month later. Says it is a post-emergent as well, but I'm not having work. Okay, so we're getting more information. So this, Mike's saying, go ahead and overseed and then come put it out as a post-emergent, but he's saying it's not working too great. Well, I think there's one consensus here is controlling POA in a cool season lawn is challenging. For us in the warm season grass, the spectacle flow works great as a pre-emergent. Post-emergent, there's some options, but POA is tough. And the POA trio, I any experience with that. I know it's terrible too. What are the main things I should be asking when taking my self-propelled mower for a tune-up? Oh, I don't really know. I would think, you can look at your manual. They probably going to change the spark plug, clean out the air filter, sharpen the blade, change the oil. I don't know what else, unless it's like a really expensive mower. I wouldn't put too much effort and time into it because sometimes the mower itself is just, I'll say this, I got a little Honda engine on my spray rig, and I haven't maintained it properly, and it just keeps running. One time I checked the air filter, it was so nasty. I was somewhat embarrassed. I've tried to do a little better job of that. But some of those Honda engines, they just run so great. But those are some things that I think they're probably going to do to it. All right, correct, Jason, on the POA constrictor, we only use on established lawns and do not need reseeding. Okay, so again, I'm getting mixed signals here, but if it is a pre-emergent, you don't want to put a pre-emergent out and then seed. That's going to be bad. Okay, but if it's a post-emergent, then he's saying you can put it out on yards that don't need reseeding. So, not sure. This is a guy from Northern Ireland. So what kind of grass you got in Northern Ireland? Best time to core aerate in West Texas. I would say April, if you wanted me to give you a date on the calendar. Chris, do you only use as a pre-emergent? Everyone says it works as a post, but I'm not having luck. So Chris and Mike are still trying to figure out the situation here with POA constrictor. It works better as a pre. Can also be used on Bermuda control in St. Augustine. That's interesting. I've got Bermuda and St. Augustine. If my Bermuda runs in my St. Augustine, maybe I'll give that a try. We only use it in the fall. It clears up 75 to 90% of it up. All right. Thank you, Aldo and Chris. Haven't found anything that works as a post on cool season lawns without killing the grass. Curious if moles are a problem with the damage they do in the yard in your area, or like they are in Southeast Texas. How do you get rid of them? I mean, from a lawn care perspective, I try not to be the answer for that. I've asked pest control people that I know, and they say, oh, they're hard to get rid of. The kind of the answer people give is, hey, if you kill their food source, maybe the moles will leave. So we do like grub control, and we try to get rid of grub control. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Try to put out a grub control on the lawn and hopefully kill the grubs, and that will make the moles go away. But I try not to make any guarantee on that. He says the moles are there usually because of grub. So grub control product like you put out in May or June, something like that. Control the grubs. Hopefully, that same thing with armadillos and things like that. All right, ruts and bumps in the lawn. Best way to level. Well, I've tried different things. I had like one of those homemade drags made out of a chain link fence with some bricks on it. You can buy the nicer ones on Amazon, but they're several $100s. Because the idea, and I don't know, this Bassmaster, he comes on here sometimes. The thing is, you tell me, but some people use pure sand, and I know it's great for leveling, but I've always been told sand just really doesn't have any nutrient value for the grass. So I would kind of be more in favor of the sand topsoil mixture. And if I could get it spread out there some way and then drag it with one of those big drags, that would be great. Now, my yard's several acres, so I had a tractor and a box blade. I've had skid steers and everything. Rake, works, but it's anyway. But pure sand, I guess, would level it out. But again, I don't think I'd want to do it this time of year because you're just going to be staring at sand for a while. I'd wait till it really starts to grow. I did see somebody the other day that was he's real mowing his yard, so he needs it super level for a Bermuda yard. He used pure sand, and he did it like in June or July. So within a matter of days, it had almost grown up through the sand. He was doing it when it was like super aggressive time to grow. All right, moles are usually there because of the grubs. Jason, what's the best thing for Dallas grass besides glyphosate? You come across anything new? I usually use glyphosate, to be honest with you, but what's that one? Manuscript. I've got it. I hadn't actually opened the bottle yet, but I do have Manuscript is one. Tribute Total, Celsius, and Certainty combined. If you hammer it in the fall, and then if it shows any, like, ideal if I was really trying to get rid of it, I'd pound it with one of those Tribute Total with methylated seed oil or Celsius and Certainty in the fall. Maybe hit it October, hit it again in November. If it has any life to it in January and February, hit it again with glyphosate. And then if it shows any life in March or April, hit it again with Tribute Total or something. Just pound on it. I think you can get rid of it. It's just a pain. How long after putting out Prodimene can you put seed out? I'm not sure. We don't seed. I'm not seeding much lawn. You have to check the label. The label should tell you. So if you just check the label. XD question mark. Not sure on that one. All right. Bassmaster gave me the thumbs up. And we are at 58 minutes and 57 seconds. I got one more minute. Okay. And I'm got the light shining on my face here. I'm about to figure out something different on this next time or different time of the day. Anybody got one last question? If not, I really appreciate you guys. Good conversation today. I said I'm going to jump in, do these a little more often is the plan. I'm just trying to probably be in the evenings most of the time, but I thought I would try a different time of day. Chris says dump all the weed killers on it. I think he's talking about Dallas grass. Just dump everything you got on it. Yes, a Hyundai mower engine. Just didn't know if there's any specifics. Now, I think, you can check the air filter yourself. And a lot of you can change that out. You can go buy it anywhere that sells Honda engine parts. You can buy a spark plug, air filter, sharpener blades. A lot of that you could do it yourself. There's a little thing I use to change the oil. I forget what you call it, but it's like a tube. Looks like a grease gun. You pull the handle and it sucks the oil out where you don't have to turn your mower upside down, and then you put new oil in. Hope to see you live more often. I hope so too, Caleb. Appreciate it. I'm going to have some guests on. Appreciate you guys joining me, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks a lot.